When I'm not editing video for 4 hours, to the point that both of my feet have fallen asleep, and then I get up to go downstairs because I need to take a break, but I'm trying to walk downstairs with both of my feet numb and asleep. If you've ever tried that, it's hard, but still I convince myself that I can make it down the stairs until I try to take the first step and whiff because my feet are asleep, and then I end up falling down an entire flight of stairs, tumbling end over end, and then making it to the bottom of the stairs, assessing the damage, and realizing that I'm somehow miraculously uninjured because apparently I'm indestructible. When I'm not doing that, I like to answer questions that I get on YouTube. So let's get to it. What do you think about Cliff Burton? He was an amazing bassist, and he loved so many different music styles, especially Bach, which I like also. And in general, what do you think about the stigma metalheads like and love only metal? So if you don't know Cliff Burton, he was the original bass player for Metallica, who tragically died in a bus accident too soon. And absolute beast. There's another round of interviews by Metallica recently that you can find on YouTube and stuff like that they really open up about just how influential he was to all of them as players. Now he was like the most musically gifted guy of the whole bunch and really kind of put his mark on metal and hard rock music in a relatively short amount of time. So yeah, absolute beast player. And the stigma of metalheads only liking metal music, I think, is like a real thing. And it's a shame because it is a stigma. It's not true. But I mean, like, let's be honest, you metal guys, you really do it to yourself. Like, the wardrobe, I think, is one thing. Like, metal guys will wear their Pantera shirt like an extraordinary percentage of times compared to relative to the rest of their wardrobe, or whatever shirt. You know, we could substitute like a couple different shirts in for that. Like, no other genre of music has their fans so wear like their love for that genre on their sleeve like metal does. And again, nothing against metal guys. I think I've said before on here, I'm kind of a poser metal fan myself. I wasn't born into a metal mindset, but I love the idea of being a metal fan. There's a lot of metal music I listen to. It's not my main genre. I remember in high school, there were a couple groups of friends I kind of like jumped in and out of. By far the coolest dudes were the metal dudes. They're also probably the smelliest dudes, but they're by far the coolest dudes, and I loved all those guys. And I think some of the best musical personalities out in the world are all metal guys. A lot of the best YouTube guitar channels specifically, are metal channels. So I love metal, I love the idea of metal, but I think there is a stigma that is kind of brought on by about how much metal people need to let the world know that they are in fact metal people through, you know, their wardrobe, etc., etc. Again, I'm not trying to hate on metal people. I've got nothing but love for you, but I think part of that leads to the stigma that metal guys are only into metal music. Because you won't see like the Pantera guy, you're not going to see him wearing like an Antonio Carlos Jobim t-shirt the next day. It's all kind of one genre. So if you want to help break these stereotypes, I think we need to maybe start, you know, maybe dressing up on occasion. I don't know. Like the animation, how long did that take to make? Laugh out loud. So this is pertaining to the music video animation story concept thing that I've been rolling out with the new album. So if you haven't listened to the new album, please check it out. I'll link you below. And the subsequent cartoons that I've been doing with them. So basically, how long these take to make? Yeah, they take a long-ass time to make because I'm just drawing everything with no art skills or background or experience and then keyframing every little motion into Final Cut. And actually, believe it or not, I started the animation about the exact same time I started the YouTube channel. So I was kind of concurrently working on both of them. And then I saw a lot more potential to like maybe grow the channel more before I did the animation. So I've been doing the animation stuff for kind of on and off for like a year. And if I had to ballpark it, I would probably put the number at like seriously, it's like probably like 100 hours per video. And some of that's probably overshooting it because, you know, I think the shortest song on there is like a 2-minute song. The longest one is like 7 minutes plus. So obviously the 7-minute one takes more than the 2-minute one. But yeah, I would probably average it at like 100 hours per. And it seems absolutely ridiculous, but it's just one of those things that just sucking it up and just doing it for the legacy. Because I'm going to be 90 years old and be like, you know what? I made a cartoon album from start to finish. It is a standalone project, the success of which is almost kind of irrelevant at this point because I'm just happy that I kind of had an idea for a project and I got it done and I learned a lot throughout the whole process. So if you guys want to check it out and give me feedback on it, that's cool. I understand if you hate it because I totally get that it's like super weird. But yeah, this is something that I did. So if you enjoy it, that's great. If not, that's okay too. Okay, a question of fates. What would you do if you didn't get hooked into music? I think obviously I would probably be one of the chief animators at Pixar. But aside from that, I probably would have done something teaching-wise. I think I've always kind of gravitating towards helping people understand things. I feel like I am naturally gifted at explaining things, and even when I was like in high school and college and stuff like that, I would always like tutor and stuff. Even if it wasn't my friends, sometimes I was like more of like an official tutor, especially with math. Math was always one of the subjects that I just kind of innately understood, and I know a lot of people needed help with that. So I think I might actually be like a math teacher if I didn't do anything like music or media related. So yeah, I'm gonna go with that. A classy math professor. A math professor is what I would actually have been. How do you classify a beginner, an intermediate, and an advanced player? Well, I think first of all, I think we put a lot of importance on labels, which it probably shouldn't be that way, because there's so many different factors that go into like, genre, versatility, all that stuff. And like an advanced player, like I would never ever say that I'm an advanced player by any stretch of the imagination, but I mean, I can play or whatever. So I guess like the way that I would think of it is when you're a beginner, maybe you're just starting to learn a few open chords, stuff like that. Maybe you are working on like a pentatonic scale thing. You're just getting into like the major scale. I think once you can start playing songs all the way through, maybe have like a small understanding of how to get into a solo and kind of like reverse directions and stuff like that, and be able to change fluidly between chords, I think then you're no longer beginner. Then you're an intermediate player. And as far as that, graduating to, I guess what I might consider advanced is more of like a thoughtful thing. Like if you have an understanding of how the fretboard works and how you can be just as comfortable playing in this position than playing in open position, and being able to like play bar chords and understand how scales link together into different shapes and stuff like that. Maybe doing arpeggio stuff, whatever. Just having that awareness of the fretboard, then you're a player and you can play. Like as far as I would be okay saying that like the only advanced guitar player out there in the world is Steve Vai. Like that just makes sense to me, you know what I mean? Again, labels, way too much is put into labels and stuff like that. Once you can play as far as I'm concerned. I've always wanted to know a proper guitar player's opinion on Tame Impala Kevin Parker. He is the psych rock band from Australia, and considering he too writes, performs, records, and masters his album, maybe this might be the perfect band for you to talk about. I have the utmost respect for Kevin Parker and Tame Impala. However, I feel like I don't like them as much as I should, or like him. I've listened to all his music. I think it's really cool. He's got such a cool vibe going on, but I just don't really listen to Tame Impala a whole lot. And it's kind of interesting because I'm a huge fan of Unknown Mortal Orchestra, and that's kind of like the same kind of vibe. But for whatever reason, I've never really gotten hooked by Tame Impala. But again, I have a massive amount of respect for the dude because, man, the guy works his ass off. He, like the guy said, he does everything himself, and he's kind of done it in a very unique way. Like, he'll kind of eschew like some of like the proper, like traditional modern recording techniques to kind of get his own sounds. So again, I love his sound. As far as like his playing and stuff like that, I can't really name a couple guitar parts off the top of my head that I think really stand out to me. I know he's a really good player. What I do like, I think he's an awesome bass player. Like the bass lines in Tame Impala songs, I think are great. And just the way they're recorded, it's got that really kind of like low, hollow, groovy type sound. So I like Tame Impala, not a huge Tame Impala fan, but I totally appreciate what that guy's doing. So since we're kind of talking about Kevin Parker for Tame Impala, for listening homework this week, I'm going to link you to a video of Mark Ronson, Kevin Parker, and friends covering one of my favorite Queens of the Stone Age songs, I Sat by the Ocean. This is a pretty cool cover because compositionally, it's really very faithful to the original, but it has a totally different vibe, and it's kind of a cool thing. The lead singer is giving off a super weird vibe, which I think is worth watching just in and of itself. But yeah, so check that out. Let me know what you think. And if you have any questions or comments, please hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, the comment section, or you could go to the website, SeanDanielMusic.com. Thanks a lot.